We're counting down the days till we go to Disneyland. 7 days left, and today I'm looking at rides and attractions that are at Disneyland or Disney's California Adventure that you can't find at Walt Disney World. Disneyland, of course, is Walt's original park, and so you find a lot of things there that Walt had his hand on that have been at Disneyland that haven't made it to other parks. And then when they added on California Adventure, they've added on even a few more things that are there that aren't at other parks. Now, of course, Walt Disney World has 4 parks at it, and so you find some of the things that are at California spread around a little bit more at Florida. But there's still a lot at Disneyland and Disney's California Adventure that aren't at the Walt Disney World parks. And several things that aren't at any other park. And so as we're getting ready to go, this is kind of an exciting thing. My kids remember some of these. I have great memories of most of these, although there's a few that are new. And our friends that are coming from Florida, they've never had a chance to experience any of these. So we're excited about that, but of course mixed in with there as well, there's a few things that Disneyland doesn't have or no longer has that it used to. Here's some of the rides that are there that we get to experience and some that we won't get to experience anymore. Disneyland itself, even though it is the smallest of the Magic Kingdom parks, it has a huge number of rides and attractions. I think it may be the Disney park with the most rides and attractions in it. And there's a whole bunch there. Alice in Wonderland, which isn't at any other park at all. It's a great little dark ride. Snow White's Scary Adventure is still there, even though Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom removed their version of it a few years back and put in a Princess Meet and Greet. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride is still at Disneyland. I never got to actually experience the Walt Disney World version. They've got his marker in the graveyard over at the Haunted Mansion. But I am excited to be able to go ride Mr. Toad's. It is just this weird, wacky ride that you can only experience there. And as I like to joke with my kids, hey, let's go to Disney and go to the one place where you can go to hell at Disney. I know, that sounds terrible coming from a pastor, doesn't it? But it's just a fun, crazy thing. Disneyland also has a Pinocchio ride. Again, it's another dark ride. They've got all these dark rides in Fantasyland that you just don't have at the other parks. They've got a very different version of Winnie the Pooh. Well, the actual indoor version is pretty similar. I honestly don't remember any difference there. But the whole entrance area is different. Pooh, of course, replaced Country Bears at Disneyland, so you don't get the Country Bears anymore, which is kind of sad, because I love the Country Bears. But the entrance for the ride, where you actually get on the ride vehicle, is all outside, unlike Walt Disney World's, where everything is inside. Understandable because of the weather, but it's so much nicer outside. Yes, Pooh, though, isn't in Fantasyland like it is at Magic Kingdom. It's actually over in Bear Country or Critter Country or whatever they're calling it now. It's gone through a few different names. Oh, and then if you go to the Fantasyland Tomorrowland border, there's 2 rides that are there that aren't at any other Disney park. The first, of course, is the first tubular steel roller coaster ever built, and Disney's the one who built it. It's kind of this big white mountain sticking up you may know of as the Matterhorn. A historic ride. I've heard it's gotten a bit rough over the last few years and it's kind of in need of a track replacement like they did with Space Mountain. It's so many great memories. We will definitely take a round on it. If they have both sides open, we'll take one on each side. There was an issue, I guess, with a part of the mountain coming off that they got to fix. It's old, guys. Think about this. But yes, it could definitely use some work, but we'll definitely take at least one round on it and introduce everybody to it and say, just be prepared for a little bit of a sore back. A ride I am excited about is the submarines. Walt Disney World used to have 20,000 Leagues, and it's long gone. And the subs, when I took my kids, were closed. It was in that period of time when they weren't running them, and then they eventually rethemed it to Nemo and reopened them. So that is going to be a fun thing to introduce my kids to, childhood memories for me, and I don't know if the other 2 going with us have ever been on the subs at Disney World. So it will be brand new to them as well. It's going to be nice to see that big bay of water active again. So excited about that. Disneyland, of course, has Indiana Jones over by the Jungle Cruise, which the line for that alone is just worth walking through. Now, Walt Disney World has kind of another version of it called Dinosaur over at Animal Kingdom. It's the same ride. It's actually even the same layout, I believe. But the theming is so radically different you wouldn't even have a clue. And just the whole atmosphere of Indy is just incredible. So that's going to be so much fun to experience again. And again, something you find at Disneyland that a modified version of it at Disney World, but really not the same thing. Oh, and of course, in the back of Fantasyland is actually one of my favorite things, two of my favorite things, because they're really intertwined, and that is the Storybook Land canal boats and the Casey Jr. train. They're just a little bit past Small World. Honestly, I think Storybook Land canal boats became my wife's favorite ride there. We got to experience daytime and nighttime, and at night, it's just gorgeous. It's just a beautiful, simple little boat ride with somebody telling you the stories of all the little sets, and they're miniaturized sets from the movies. So you feel like you're floating past these little magical kingdoms, and just a beautiful, gorgeous ride. And the way they do all the miniature trees and plants and everything, it's just fantastic. But if you really want something a little more active, well, then you hop on the Casey Jr. train and you kind of roll around it. And a lot of fun, especially for kids. Yeah, well, I'll squeeze in there because it's fun. That might be one I might actually be able to get on-ride footage of. I'll have to take a look and see what I can do. But just a very pretty area of the park. The only other park I'm aware of that has something like that is Disneyland Paris, where they have a canal boats and they have a Casey Jr. train. But it is definitely laid out a bit different, and you don't have the people on the boats with you talking about the sets and stuff. So no ride operator, narrator, conductor kind of role on them. It was nice, but it missed kind of that little personal feel that the ones at Disneyland and California have. And then if you go across the entryway into California Adventure, there's all sorts of things over there that aren't in Florida. Cars Land! I mean, talk about ultimate California. Yes, it's themed to Route 66, but you get in Southern California and out towards the desert, and it feels just like that. That's actually going to be a whole brand new area for me, and so I can't wait to experience that. Very excited. I've heard such great things about Cars Land, so that's one of the things on the top of our list. California Screamin'. Okay, yes, I know it's now called the Incredicoaster, and the music has changed, so it's not quite the same ride, but we will definitely be able to get to ride that. I don't know if another Disney park even has a coaster similar to that. They have some coasters. You know, you've got Expedition Everest in Florida, and you've got the Space Mountain over in Paris, but really, the Incredicoaster is almost its own type of thing. Probably the closest thing would be Space Mountain in Paris. So, excited about that. Loved that ride. And, of course, Mickey's Wonder Wheel, and I don't know what they're calling it now, but that is an awesome ride. I like Ferris wheels anyways, and getting the moving cars is just fun, and yes, I'm going to make them all get onto that, even though a couple of them are nervous about it. But I love that ride. Those are going to be really fun to experience over at California Adventure. And of course, it's changed so much. They now have other new things there. The Grizzly Peak Rapids is there, although there's a couple other rapids rides around. You've got Kali River Rapids in Florida. So that one's neat. It was, though, one of the very first rapids rides that had a drop on it. And I remember thinking, wow, this is like totally cool. Hopefully it'll be warm enough that we can afford to get wet. We'll see. California weather this time of year, it can be hot, it can be cool. One other thing, though, that we are very much looking forward to is one more land that's over at Disneyland that isn't in Florida at all. Although it'll bring back a few memories for me, although it's kind of different, and that's Toontown. Yes, it's very different than the version of Toontown that was in Florida, but Toontown for me was a special place when I was working as a photographer in Florida. Again, the theme is completely different, but all the little tiny things in it will be fun, and of course it's the only place that has a Roger Rabbit ride, with Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin, so that's going to be a blast. So all of these different things that you can do at Disneyland that you can't do at any other Disney park. There are some things that have been lost over time that are actually still in Florida that you can't do at Disneyland anymore. The People Mover, or Tomorrowland Transit Authority as they call it in Florida, that's going to kind of stink to look and see this empty, abandoned track not doing anything. So not happy about that. Of course, the Country Bears, I already mentioned that they're gone, and I love the Country Bears. The Muppets. Yes, I have this Muppets 4D show completely memorized and love the show. It used to be at California Adventure, and I don't know why the crowds never came out for it. Really, I loved it, but it's not there anymore, and it's gone through a couple versions, and now they've got Mickey's PhilharMagic in a smaller theater that's not designed for it. So I'm kind of going, yeah, I do know how that's going to work. So I will miss the Muppets. Then there's one other area that has now been replaced. It's actually gone through a couple versions. When we were at California Adventure last, it was just one attraction, and then it eventually became a land, and now the whole land's gone and is getting replaced by Marvel, and never got to experience the Bugs Land. But Tough to Be a Bug was there. We've got some memories of Tough to Be a Bug with my son. The very first time we went in 2001, my kids were young. They were 4 and 5 years old. And so we knew that might be a bit scary for him, and so my sister and I went in and did the show, and then my wife and sister went in and did the show, and we didn't take the kids because we didn't want to scare them. The last time we went ahead, and my wife and I took my son into there. My daughter thought it was pretty cool, a little scary. My son was the poor kid that broke down and screamed, and we had to haul him out in the middle of the show. He's not scared of it anymore. But yes, now that's one thing that you can only experience down in Florida. It's no longer in California. But it's probably changed enough, I probably wouldn't even recognize where it used to be. So that's a lot of the rides and attraction differences, all the different things at Disneyland that we get to do that you can't do at Walt Disney World, and most of it in any other Disney park. Am I missing something? I'd love to hear it. Do you have memories of rides that are only at Disneyland or aren't even there anymore? I'd love to hear them. Please share them in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and hey, as we count down with only 7 days to go, is there something else you want to hear about? Let me know. Don't forget to like and share the video and subscribe if you haven't, and check that description for all sorts of stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks to my patrons for supporting. God bless. It was one of the very first Rapids rides that haven't had... If you'd like to know about my merchandise, fan pages, and more, be sure to check the description below. If you'd like to know whenever I've got a new video posted, well, make sure you hit that button right up there and subscribe. If you'd like to watch another one of my videos, I've got a great one for you right here. And if you'd like to be like these wonderful people here and support me financially on Patreon, well, make sure you check the link right there. There's even some extra perks for them. Thank you so much, and God bless.